Hello, and I'm so glad to be reading to you again today. My name is Miss Carol, and I brought together a book that's called How Full Is Your Bucket for Kids? And it's called this for kids because there is an adult book that was written prior to this. The book is written by Tom Rath and Mary Ray Meyer, and it's illustrated by Maury Manning, and it is a published book by Gallup Press, a book by Gallup Press. And I chose this book because we're talking about each of us being special and each of us having unique ways of doing things. This book really talks a lot about how we get there. So, how full is your bucket? Felix was putting one of the last blocks on his tower when his little sister came in. "I want to build with you," she said. Felix scowled. "Go away, you're too little." And like all toddlers, his sister said, "I'm big." "Stay back, you'll knock it over." "I can be careful." "Go play with your baby toys, Anna." And Anna is thinking about her brother, and she is not happy with him right then. She is so unhappy, she takes her doll and whacks his tower down. And of course, now they are both unhappy, and they call for Grandpa. Grandpa shook his head. "Felix, you just dipped from your sister's bucket." Like everyone else, Anna has an invisible bucket. When it's empty, she feels bad. But when it's full, she feels great. Didn't you ever notice your own bucket? Invisible bucket? Sometimes Felix couldn't tell when his grandfather was joking. But the next morning, when Felix woke up, there it was, a small gray bucket floating above his head. And you can see the bucket. And Felix is thinking about a bucket. When he went downstairs to have breakfast, his mom was in a hurry. "I've got a meeting this morning, and it's almost time to go." And then she yells, "Anna, sit still." Poor Anna's getting pigtails put in, and she is not happy. Uh-oh, look at Felix getting his cereal. Felix slipped, and cocoa wheat scattered across the floor. "Felix!" yelled his mom. "You should have used the stool to reach that." Felix could feel his bucket tip, and big invisible drips spill out. Drip, drip. "Ha ha," Anna laughed as she crunched the cereal with her toe. Drip. "Get the broom and clean this up before you miss the bus," scolded Mom. With the school bus honking, Felix swept up the cocoa wheats and grabbed the last blueberry muffin, but before he could even take a bite, Buster jumped up and grabbed the muffin from his hand. Drip. Felix gets on the bus, but then one of the big kids says, "Hey, look at Felix's new backpack. My baby brother has one just like it." Drip. And as he walks by kids in school, they seem to be talking about him. His bucket drips again. And then a big kid says, "Watch out, shrimp." Another big drip out of Felix's bucket. It was still morning, and Felix's bucket was feeling almost empty. As he watched his classmates walk into the room, he secretly hoped they would trip and fall. That's what it feels like when you have an empty bucket. Empty bucket, and you don't think happy thoughts. Felix slumped into his seat and waited for something else bad to happen. Miss Bumblenickel walked slowly up to his desk and handed him a paper. He could barely look. "Felix, you wrote a wonderful story. Would you please share it with the class?" Felix grinned and felt a big drop land in his bucket. The class grew very quiet. As Felix read his story, they laughed at all the right places and oohed at the scary parts. When Felix finally read the end, everyone clapped, even Emily, who sat next to him and didn't usually like dinosaur stories. Felix felt a whole shower of drops land in his bucket. Maybe this day wouldn't be so bad after all. Look at all the good things filling up Felix's bucket. When he gets to lunch that day, he opens his lunchbox and there's a note from his mom with a big heart and a smile. "Love, Mom." Another drop into his bucket. And then the gym teacher says, "Team captains today are Veronica and Felix." Ooh, another big drop in his bucket. He goes to art class and the teacher says, "Nice cow." Felix says, "It's a dog." And the teacher said, "Well, good colors." Another drop into the bucket. And then a classmate says, "Cool laser ant backpack, Felix." Oh, a nice comment. Something good to put in the bucket. By afternoon, Felix's bucket was nearly full. At recess, when he looked around, Felix suddenly realized that his grandpa was right. Everyone else had a bucket too. He was walking and a teacher dropped papers, and Felix said, "Let me help you." And he filled up his bucket and the teacher's bucket. And then, "Here's your baseball, catch." And he throws it back to the kid who says, "Thanks, dude." He got a drop in his bucket and a drop went into his friend's bucket. And then he's sitting on a bench and says to a new kid, "Hi, I'm Felix. First day?" And the child says, "Yeah, I'm Amir." A drop in Felix's bucket, a drop in Amir's bucket. The strange thing was that for every drop he helped put in someone else's bucket, he felt another drop go into his own bucket. When Felix burst into the door after school, he shouted, "You were right, Grandpa. I have a bucket, and I understand how it works." And then he saw Anna's torn doll. "Bad dog," he almost scolded. But then he thought, dogs might have buckets too. "Your doll will be okay, Anna," said Felix. "Mom will fix her." He put a drop into Anna's bucket and a drop into Grandpa's bucket, who was happy. Until then, do you want to play with me and make the tallest building in the world with my blocks? And so they did. I like the idea of invisible buckets. I think we're all special and we all have a bucket, and when things are good, our bucket gets filled with a lot of drops, and when things aren't going so good, sometimes the bucket starts getting empty. But the best thing about buckets is we can help everybody's bucket get full by saying nice things or helping them by doing nice things, filling the buckets of other people as well as our own. I like this story. It helps to remind me that I need to fill my bucket, and I can help fill your bucket by being nice to you. I hope you'll think about this during the day. Thank you.